Sometimes the best therapy is cranking the hits to 11. So today we're exploring the hardcore kid care revival movement, 11 o'clock theatrical birdcore numbers, some late hits of the renovation wave era. Call us about a spinoff. Flower duets and a classic live record. Out in the wilderness, Coach Ben does a great Carl Havoc impression for an unimpressed Misty. Today we're talking about episode 7, Burial. Hey guys, you are listening to or watching the Antler Queens podcast, the most inclusive Yellowjackets podcast where we shove peace, love, and Yellowjackets down your goddamn beautiful throats. Today we're talking about season 2, episode 7, Burial. And my guest, I have a very special guest for this episode. This is a milestone for me because I'm finally recording with my favorite podcaster, A.Ron. What's up, A.Ron?
Stop. You're going to make me blush. Hey, everybody. How's it going? I'm A.Ron.
I'll let you introduce yourself and talk about Bald Move and all that. But I just want to say, first of all, I've been listening to A.Ron since 2013. He hosted the Watching Dead podcast, which was my favorite Walking Dead podcast. And then I got started on when he and Jim expanded, I kind of expanded along with them. I started listening to their other stuff. But so this is really exciting for me. I'm excited. If you're for some reason just now getting started on Walking Dead, I highly recommend going back and listening to their old episodes of Watching Dead. It's awesome.
There's a lot of it. There's a lot of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm proud of the fact, but it's by far the most podcasts we've recorded for a show because most shows weren't on for 11 supersized seasons. So
exactly. And now you've got Citizen of Bureau Detective. God, I'm totally messing that up. Bureau of Citizen Detectives.
Yep.
And which is you're podcasting and you're doing the YouTube thing with that too, which is super cool. But yeah, why don't you talk a little bit about Bald Move?
Well, thank you for the very sweet introduction. I started Bald Move around 2010 with my best friend Jim, and we kind of started covering television and movies. And after a couple of years of doing that, we decided to kind of take a big risk and go doing it full time. And since I don't know, about 2013, 2014, around about there, we've been covering your favorite television and the movies from like an outsider point, a fan point of view. We're not insiders. We don't have a lot of Hollywood access to do a lot of interviews and stuff, but we just provide the virtual couch to watch television with your best buds and discuss it. And we try to do, we've done some really big shows like Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, as you mentioned, The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad. And, we also really enjoy stuff like the Yellowjackets, which is, man, it's getting a lot of buzz this year. But that's kind of our deal. If you want to hear more of our stuff, you can go to baldmove.com. Currently, we're covering the Yellowjackets. And next month, we'll be spinning up Foundation Season 2. What is the other one? Just something. Oh, what is it? No, it's I know there's something else in June, but there's also Justified City Primeval that we're pretty excited about. So lots of stuff this summer. Lots of stuff this summer to watch with us. Baldmove.com.
Nice. Very cool. My you're currently in my regular, like, I don't listen to other podcasters' recaps before I get out my own episode. But once I get my coverage out, then I go back and listen, and you're one of the 3 that I have on regular rotation for Yellowjackets.
Yeah,
so.
You can't let anyone contaminate your thoughts.
Yeah.
It's always bad news to listen to. Maybe the official podcasts, you can get away with that. But Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. That's the other one coming back in June. If you're a science fiction fantasy fan.
Very cool. Very cool. So this episode was directed by Anya Adams, written by Ashley Lyle, Bart Nickerson, Rick Monahan, and Liz Fang. So what on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give this one?
Ooh, okay, it's pretty high up there. I'm gonna save 10 for something that maybe in case there's something better than this, but this is the mistiest episode of all time. I was already really into the episode, but then when we got into the extended Caligula fantasy, Walter telegraphing his "I love yous" to Misty, I love that kind of like Broadway slash David Lynch, as told through like Misty's kind of like dark heart and crazy soul.
Yeah.
I thought this was great. I really liked, I just feel like the show is just so well paced. It
Yeah.
just wants, it's like each week it's like you want it to get just a little bit crazier. And I was wondering, it's like I wondered if the Antler Queen Lottie reveal was going to be that, and then Shauna just beating the hell out of Lottie just, man, what a crazy scene. 9 out of 10 for me. What'd you think of it?
Um, I think I would rate it the same. Again, I'm so reluctant to give out 10s because I always feel like, what if there's something that,
Sure.
that's even better. But yeah, I mean, I loved everything about this episode. Some things were disappointing from just from a fan perspective, like the cancer reveal wasn't wasn't great news, but I have feelings about that though. I think I am not overly pessimistic about that.
Well, they gave us
But
the Johns Hopkins lifeline that there might be a super oncologist that can save poor Van.
yes, yes. I still think that hope is going to come more along the lines of a blood sacrifice. Hopefully,
Okay.
it's not Bruce.
So I listened to a lot of you, and is it Proma as your co-host last week's
Trauma.
podcast last week?
Yeah, she was with me last week.
Are you like on team science or team witchcraft? I need to know. Are you a woman of reason or a woman of faith, like in the Lost Days?
Well, in my non-TV life, I'm very much a woman of
Oh,
reason.
I'm buzz. I'm talking about your
But
Yellowjackets heart. Yeah,
yeah,
where
when it
you
comes
at?
to Yellowjackets, I actually want this. I want the supernatural.
Okay, all right. Well, so we are Locke and who's the other Jack and Locke on Lost. We're gonna, because I'm always looking for the reasonable explanation for everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's just kind of fun, I think, to go back and forth.
Oh, for
Like
sure. And this
I
show does
try to
such a great
find
job of that tightrope.
yeah, it really does. I mean, I try to go back and forth between I try to find reasonable explanations for everything, but I'm just it's so much fun to speculate about weird shit that
Oh
is
yeah,
just completely
yeah. And
inexplainable.
I know, like I said, I won't be disappointed if it turns out it's all the wilderness and magic and ghost and stuff like that. That's cool too. It's just that I want the show to lead me there. I want the
Yeah.
show to like plant its flag in that ground before, because I've seen a lot of True Detective, a lot of The Leftovers, there's a lot of shows that kind of like, and more often than not it's a Scooby Doo pull off the rubber mask and it's just old man Feeney the whole time. But we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. One of these days I'm just waiting for some show that I really enjoy to just do a complete 180 on me and go all soap opera and somebody just comes back from the dead in the most like ridiculous way possible.
Sure.
Hopefully that won't happen with Yellowjackets, but I like when things get a little weird.
For sure.
um Now before we get into the details of the episode, I'm a little on pins and needles right now because I am only last time I checked, which was about 45 minutes ago, I was only 7 subs away from monetization. So,
Ooh.
everyone go check if you're subscribed. Make sure and go make 30 accounts and subscribe with all of them. No, I'm kidding.
Where are you
Um,
where is this? Which account? Where are we trying to push people to?
it's the YouTube channel is youtube.com/@theantlerqueens.
There's got to
7
be at least
subs.
7 Bald Move people listening to this podcast, and I would consider it a solid on my behalf if you would go give Kelly one of those subs.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah,
Hit the
so
button.
hopefully this will be going up on Thursday, so maybe by Thursday I'll be monetized. If not, I'm
All
setting
right.
myself on fire, and I'm going to curse Bruce and Caligula and the 14th Gilly and Nugget to die horrible deaths. So
Oh,
you better do
wow.
it.
Wow. She's going after the animals, y'all. Even the scary
No.
ones like Caligula.
Yeah, yeah. And Bruce is like Bruce is my boy. So I'm serious, man. I mean business. So what did you think about the show opening with Something in the Way?
It's a great drop. It's like it really captured the mood, right? Just melancholy.
Yeah.
These girls are bumming hard. This has been traumatic. And then, well, as we later find out, like this traumatic thing happens and they're cooped up in this cabin with this
Hmm.
blood and afterbirth and a several days old baby corpse. And they're stewing in it. It's got to be the worst. And they've
Yeah.
been cooped up all winter, so it's like there's nothing to talk about. You're not going to grab out Monopoly or start playing spades or nothing. Like it's just yeah. I thought it was a great needle drop.
Same. I thought it was perfect. And it's not even like one of my favorite Nirvana songs. But I remember reading a story about how when Kurt Cobain recorded this, when Nirvana was recording this song, Kurt Cobain recorded the vocals lying on his back in the studio, which just like because that's the feel that he was going for.
The lowest
And
possible energy dirge.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, I just one thing I love about the show is they have a lot of great music in the show, but they use it really well too.
Hmm. Hmm.
And this was just so appropriately placed. I absolutely loved it. It, it's not my favorite song of the episode, but it's probably my favorite as far as the way it was used
Yeah.
for sure.
It really fit like a glove.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Shauna sleeping with her dead baby. That was a little freaky.
I was worried she's going to start nibbling on it.
Oh no.
Like
Oh
she's gonna start picking off fingers and toes. Just that natural cute aggression. Have you heard of this concept where it's like when
no.
you've got like a puppy or a baby and you're just like, oh, I just want to eat you up,
Oh.
and you're like
Oh
you're
yeah, yeah,
playfully
yeah.
like eating them or hurting them or whatever.
Hmm.
I thought it's like because I didn't think she saw eating Jackie's ear in her future or
Yeah.
a half rack of Jackie ribs, and yet that's what happened. I'm just saying, this stuff seems to like she's the patient zero of it. So I was just really. I've had this, baby in the crock pot theory that it was just going to go right there, and she staved it off by burying it under rocks this episode. But it was creepy.
Yeah, eating the baby, I don't think would have been unlike her. Um, I think that I mean, because Jackie was her best friend. She loved Jackie, and she ate her ear. I mean, the woman is not in her right mind. Um,
No.
but I honestly think they probably only avoided it just for the sake of repetition.
Well, the thing is,
Okay.
it's put out there in nature's freezer. So,
Yeah.
although it was in the cabin for a couple days. I
Oh
just think it's
yeah.
like how unnerving it must have been for the girl. Like we already know that they were kind of on high Shauna alert from the Jackie shenanigans. They were like saying like this is not normal. This is not. You can imagine the conversations happening on like day 3 of the
Ugh.
blizzard. Like oh my god.
Well,
And Ty's trying. She's trying to break her out of the shell, and it's just not
yeah,
working.
yeah. You know what? I'm changing my thinking on Shauna. I don't think she actually would have been capable of eating the baby after her dream, where they all eat her baby. I think that would
But what if she
probably
ate her
be.
baby in the dream? Like she's dreaming. She dream eats like Ty.
Yeah. Oh God, that would be disturbing as hell.
I feel like, okay. I've tried like Jim has infected me because I'm not the one that actually wants to see this baby eaten. That's Jim. He's the
Yeah.
weirdo that's been wanting the baby to be eaten since like season 2, season 3 of The Walking Dead. He's infected my thinking. So I'm gonna back off the baby eating jokes now. Went way too hard on the baby eating this early in the podcast. Let's just back off of it. Yeah.
All right. Well, they promised us last season that they wouldn't be eating the baby, but at least we still got to see somebody. I mean, he had to have enjoyed the season, the scene where they were all chowing down, right?
Mhm, mhm. And
Um,
showrunners lie. I have known them to, they are professional tricksters and
yes,
liars and storytellers, and they
very true,
will trickster and lie in the furtherance of telling their story, so
very true, very true.
grains of salt.
But yeah, so Shauna buries the baby under some rocks, and she says it's you and me against the world, kid, which was kind of made me a little misty eyed. That was kind of sad. Um, but I love we switch back to the present and we're at the Sunshine Honey Wellness Center. Um, and I love how Misty is just enthusiastically collecting everyone's belongings. Like she just belongs there now. She's part of Lottie's group.
She finds her niche and just fits in there. Yeah, she just
Yeah,
finds where she's at in the pecking order and tries to worm her way in there, and she's and this funny thing is, it's like when she talks about herself as being like well established, and Lisa's like, "You haven't even been here 24 hours." Like, but you'd think she was the second founding. She was like, Lottie's right hand woman here.
right, right. And yeah, and I think was it Ty that that was like, "Have you 2 joined a cult since we last saw you?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, Natalie and Misty are just fully embracing it. Um, and the shit that Natalie is saying is just like she's down with it 100%. Now, do you think that she's being sincere, or do you think that she's like,
Man, I kind of feel like that she has had an epiphany because she I think she shot her shot with the trying to expose Lottie with the financial records and all that, which wasn't a great tactic. But I kind of think she might be a true believer.
I do
Like the
too.
things that she was saying here about I put up all these walls and they were doing me dirty and they're starting to come down, and I think we had a lot of dark shit out there that we need to deal with. I kind of think that she thinks that there's something there, yeah, with Lottie.
Yeah, I do too. But I think that most of that has not necessarily come from Lottie or from being there. I think a lot of it has come from her relationship with Lisa. And that makes me a little nervous. I love Lisa and Natalie's relationship, but I'm a little nervous because I think I think Lisa has had the biggest influence on her, which makes me think that something bad is going to happen between Natalie and Lottie.
Why?
Um,
What's the deal with Lisa that?
it's well, she just the scene. I think it was the episode "Old Wounds" where they went to her house, where they went
Right.
to Lisa's house, um, and it was very clear that Natalie was seeing a lot of herself in Lisa.
Hmm.
Um, there was a big dynamic change, and excuse me, I think Lisa had the most effect on her. I mean, Lisa, they were both suicidal. Um, they they understood each other, I think, in a way that Natalie hadn't really felt understood before. And it opened her up and it made her kind of want to blend into the place a little more. I mean, every everything that she has done so far while she's been at the compound, I think was a combination of all of the elements of just of being there, the environment, of Lottie, of Lisa, but I think Lisa was probably the biggest influence on her.
So you think she's
And
over identifying with her, and it's causing her to maybe over invest as well?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
And I absolutely love Lisa. I think she's a great character. Um I'm hoping that nothing happens to her because of Lottie maybe. That's my biggest fear for the season right now.
Yeah.
Um that, Lottie's gonna hurt Lisa somehow and it's gonna all fall apart really quickly, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Um, I don't know.
If I was
But
gonna
you
lay money on who would hurt Lisa, I would think it would be Nat, just because they've said like there'd be a lot of like dramatic ironies for all the reasons you just mentioned, and the fact that
yeah,
like that Lisa had a chance to hurt Nat, she didn't, but Nat is a Yellow Jacket, and she did some crazy shit out in the wilderness, and some of that stuff might come out, and yeah,
yeah. But, Natalie is also she's such an interesting character because she seems to be the least violent of all of them. But she also seems to be the most in touch with herself
yeah,
out of everybody,
yeah,
which works against her when I mean, it's essentially why she tried to unalive herself in, in the
right.
first season. She's dealing with everything, whereas nobody else is.
Well, that's the
But
other
yeah,
interesting thing about her is that that's her core fear is that everything that she, gets in when it gets closer, gets hurt. And a lot of times, she feels responsible for it. Sometimes she is responsible for it. And I just
yeah,
want that would be season 2 Yellow Jackets it'd be another push in a direction if she were to, either subconsciously, consciously, or whatever hurt somebody else that she's allowed to get close to or start caring about.
yeah, 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 exactly, exactly. That would be a little too tragic. Um, we catch back up with the wilderness group, and Van's getting a little nihilistic. She's getting a little Jackie on us. Um, what did you what did you think about the stuff that she was saying in this scene with Ty about how she survived all of this stuff and she doesn't know why? And putting that up against the cancer reveal at the end. Um, like what are your thoughts on that whole thing?
I think if 18-year-old Van is feeling nihilistic, she should talk to 43-ish-year-old Van, who has survived all this stuff and finally found a measure of contentment and peace, and then cancer. Like, I
Yeah.
survived the wilderness. I hunted women for sport and for sustenance, and I survived a wolf ripping my face off, and something as mundane as cancer is going to get me. Um, yeah, and you can tell like in many ways she had resigned. She was just going to she's going to live out her best VHS life, and the bills are going to pile up, and it wasn't going to be her problem for much longer.
Yeah.
And Ty, there's some desperation in her eyes when they make out, and then she has to reveal to Ty the fact that she can't wait, like it sucks in a way that it maybe hasn't have sucked. She's like the realization of like, oh my god, I just have months to live. And so yeah, it's tragic, and I do because Van is one of my favorite characters, top 3 certainly.
Yeah.
And I hope that either Johns Hopkins super oncologist or wilderness blood power can save her, because I really don't want to see her die mid season 3.
No.
Uh,
Hell no.
no,
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. I'm feeling pretty optimistic. Um,
yeah,
how she's gonna
it
be
seems
saved. I'm
almost
not as optimistic.
it seems almost intentionally inserted to resolve at some point, and it's going to be one of those things that's probably big, like that's going to be hard to explain if it just goes away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm always waiting for the show to definitively put its thumb on reason or faith scales here.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, there's an interesting thing going on with Ty here, though. It's like she, she was the skeptic, and she was the more. I mean, she wasn't. Ty was never really nihilistic, but she was very skeptical. And she was fighting with Van over the whole like believing in Lottie thing and thinking that she has a deeper connection to the wilderness. Um and she's so hung up now on the fact that she's been sleeping again, and she's not seeing the no-eyed man anymore. So I'm really wondering. I'm wondering how this is going to play out. If the tables are going to turn, if Van is still a believer, or if it's just going to do a 180. I don't know. It's one thing I'm really confused about. When season 1 started, I remember the show being described, the show description included something about them splitting into warring factions.
Hmm.
And we've seen like the beginnings of division, but we haven't really seen like hardcore division yet. And I'm hoping that Ty and Van will find themselves on the same side. I mean, I absolutely love their relationship. I think it's extremely unrealistic for high schoolers. No high schoolers had a relationship like that.
Mm.
It's just I think it's physically impossible. But no, I absolutely love them. I mean, they're just their relationship is so beautiful and obviously we know that they break up eventually. I just hope it's not before they get out of the wilderness, you know?
Yeah, they mentioned was it last episode that I thought this was an interesting clue because I've always wondered, like, when the Yellow Jackets get out of the wilderness, do they just scatter? Do they never see each other again? Do they go, But there's this detail that they mentioned that they were all at least invited to. I'm not sure if they actually said that they went or they were invited to Sean and Jeff's wedding, implying that there was some attempt to keep normal relationships post the wilderness events. So
Yeah.
yeah, when they break up and why they break up, it doesn't seem like there's like terrible amount of like if they were on opposing sides of the wilderness war, but also you got to wonder what those young women would think about returning to society. Like, my God, we
Mhm.
had queens and we were hunting people and reading people and that was like all that stuff. Like, was it as did it? If you return to civilization, does all that wilderness stuff seem as fake and unreal as like the civilized world felt to you when you were deep in the wilderness, right? Like, is it
Yeah.
just kind of like you just wake up and like, oh my God, this was a fever dream?
Right.
Or was there some of that bringing some of those rivalries and stuff back? I don't know. I haven't seen any sign of like that kind of long term. There's like personal animosity, like, Shauna doesn't really like Misty, and a lot of people don't really like Misty, but there's just not like the like when you see when they've gotten back together, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think they might have I think that might have been their original plan and maybe they've just moved past it at this point because it's just it's almost hard to believe that they're going to be split in half, you know what I mean?
There's a lot of tracks leading up to that, because you had
Yeah.
the whole even this season, you had Lottie talking about, the queens, when they
Mhm.
when the hive emerges in winter and it's spring and you got rival queens and they're stinging each other to death. Like, we are about to get to that phase in the wilderness.
That's true.
You think a deck of cards there. We've only seen one of the red queens, but there's two sets of queens, red and black. There's a dichotomy there. There's a lot of stuff that's pointing that there will be and there's gotta be like if even coming up with some kind of crazy random or democratic process to like determine who you're going to kill to eat. That's
Yeah.
still got to there's going to be politics, right? Like,
Yeah.
even and actually small group politics can be the most vicious ones of all. Have you ever worked at a family run enterprise, a
Oh
family
yeah.
owned business? That's way more vicious than any like Fortune 500 place I've ever been at. But yeah,
Yeah.
I do think we're going to definitely get some battles. And Shauna v Lottie is one of those where that was a pretty vicious fight there, but is it going to actually lead to a permanent rupture? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Let me ask you this. What do you think about the Cannibal Council? Do you think that that is one group or do you think that that's everyone who's left?
I subscribe to the theory that the way Mari is going around and giving out the chores with the deck of cards, I think that's going to evolve into like before they do like right when they're at the brink of starvation. This is all headcanon. I don't have any firm.
Yeah.
This is just me cooking. But like every time they're right on the verge of starvation, they form a cannibal council and they deal out cards, and those cards are the roles they play. There's probably like the antler queen, and there's the mistress of the hunt, and there's the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker, and the whatever Misty, the factotum, cannibal factotum that Misty plays. And then there's the victim, there's the deer or
Yeah.
whatever, and they do some kind of rotation system. Um, if that's my favorite theory. The other one would be that there is two factions and they just kind of hunt each other.
Yeah.
Um, But I don't know, that seems like I'm with you. It seems less and less likely that there's, like, these deeply divided permanent fissures between these girls.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
What do you think?
Um,
How do you think the Cannibal Council runs?
I I'm more subscribed to it being who's left. I think the Cannibal Council that we saw in that very first episode, I think that's who's left. Everyone else, I think they've hunted at this point, um, and has ended up being dinner. Um, except for Coach Ben. Coach Ben's kind of a wild card because we didn't see anybody with crutches in the Cannibal Council, but he could be just hanging out back at the cabin, and they could be bringing him scraps for all we know. Who knows? You
Yeah.
know?
I don't know, it doesn't look good for him. He's already
Yeah,
not wanting to be around anymore, so
I agree. I agree. Um, so back at Sunshine Honey, Lottie has everyone pick a treatment. Ty picks renewal. Shauna picks self care. Van picks forage, which ends up being the best one. Misty picks guidance. Uh, which one would you pick if Lottie just handed you this list and you didn't know what any of them meant?
I'd probably go I'm with Sean, I'd probably go self-care. I'm like, "I'm gonna spoil myself." And these are all monkey paw treatments, like, whatever you think it's, "Oh, renewal. Here's a makeup brush, paint a cabin." They're all, equivalent of, Daniel-san waxing on and waxing off, and painting the fences. They're all, just object like Sisyphean tasks, I guess. But I'd go I'd go self-care, yeah. I'd get roped into
Absolutely.
the go, and I'd have a great time, by the way.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Me and Bruce would get I
Um,
wouldn't take my eye off of him. I wouldn't stop playing with him all day. I wouldn't, like, disassociate against a tree for 30 minutes and have him eat 12 feet of rope and wander off. I would have nailed that assignment.
hell yeah. I mean, Shauna was a little disappointed at first because she said she thought she was going to be getting mud baths and self-reflective questions. I'd rather hang out
Sure.
with the goat personally.
Yeah, the mud bath does not sound that sounds like a lot of scrubbing involved afterwards.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'll take the goat over a spa experience any day. He was the cutest goat too, man. Bruce was
So cute.
he was so adorable.
Did you notice
I
how Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say anybody who listens to or watches this show regularly knows I have a thing for goats.
Well, alright. How many times have goats come up in the show?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back and start keeping count. But yeah, we have some neighbor goats actually where I live, and I like to go
Ah.
visit them whenever I get a chance because I just, I grew up playing with goats, during the summer, and I just have a soft spot for them. They're one of my
Some
favorite
deep
animals.
goat lore here, that we're getting. Did
Yeah.
did you notice how Misty's almost like a non-person in this group? Like, Misty's like, "You know what? I'll take forage." And then Van, like, 2 seconds later, "I'll take forage." And Misty's like, "Oh, yeah, of course, that's the best one." Like, and later on, and when they're all in Misty broaches the topic of the wilderness, and everybody's like, "Fuck you, Misty. Shut up about the wilderness." And then Nat's like, "Actually, the wilderness, guys." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, the wilderness." Like, she's nobody.
I know.
I kind of feel sorry for her.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that Van spit it out that she'd take forage because she didn't trust what Misty would be foraging?
I know. I almost don't think the Van was even listening to her. Or Van did it as like a power play because that's also something, maybe is like something she would do. But like, yeah, it was wild the way that, and Misty's not even mad. She just kind of like takes it and then looks for her passive aggressive attempt to get her dig in later.
Yeah. Yeah, she just wants to fit in. Um, but this is great. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, if you've seen it online, or if you checked it out yourself. Lottie shows them a phone number that they can give to their emergency contacts, whoever they feel needs it. Um, do you know about this phone number?
It's usually my move to call numbers on screen, and I just
Okay.
completely blanked out. I was so into the thing that I didn't even think. I didn't even think about it.
I am going to actually, you know what? I'm going to put it down here really quick, because if I just repeat it, people will forget it this way. Like people can grab a pen and all that fun stuff. Okay, so this is the number 607-478-1033. If you call the number, you will actually get a voicemail message from Sunshine Honey. You can also text the number. I texted it the other day, and what did I get back here? Sunshine Honey, thank you for your interest in the Sunshine Honey wellness community. Here we unplug to hear the wilderness. Give us a call to start your
Mm,
journey.
wow.
Yeah, I kinda love the immersive marketing, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's always fun when they give out a real number that you can call.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I love it. It kinda reminded me of that, like, back when when The Walking Dead was getting ready to introduce Negan and the Saviors, they had that, they started calling people randomly. And did you get one of those messages back then? Like, you'd pick up the phone and it would be, or they would leave voicemails too if you didn't answer. It was like
Hmm. I don't
half
think so, no.
half of all of your belongings belong to us now or something like that.
See, I was about to make that joke. That's like if I called this number and I started seeing an eyeless person in my dreams, I would like never forgive myself. I just walked right into it. Why am I calling a Yellowjackets number?
Right, right. It's I have a feeling there's probably an entire subreddit dedicated to, like, analyzing the numbers chosen in
Hmm.
this phone
Oh,
number.
sure. If you run it through the biblical numerology translator, then
Yes.
it's got the launch codes for the nuclear missiles or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But, yeah, so, Shauna gets her goat after they all give up their phones. Um, and, sh I just I don't get it, man. I mean, we later find out that she just doesn't wanna she thinks she's gonna have to kill the goat, so she doesn't wanna get attached. But, man, I would just be squealing with delight if they just handed me a cute little baby goat like that.
I can see you
Um,
thinking like because we don't know what the shit that's like, it gives this kind of sinister thing to Lottie too, because the fact that Shauna would think that she would try to soft pedal her, presumed antler queen stuff by like essentially getting people attached to baby goats and killing them.
yeah,
That seemed like a sincere belief. She wasn't doing that just as a stunt. That gives us a little clue about maybe how things went. That's different from the
yeah,
vibe we got this because if anything, I'm seeing Lottie is extremely self-sacrificing and self-effacing.
yeah.
Um, and this would imply that she takes on a darker role in the future.
That's a good guess. I think so. Now, one thing that I forgot to bring up, um, this is a little confusing. So, we've been getting these things in the mail, as teasers for the upcoming episode. So obviously the goat and the parrot are self-explanatory, but what's up with the
Mhm.
ring? I mean, do you think that was Thaisa's ring, or do you think that was a mistake? And maybe because it almost kind of looks, when I saw it, my first thought was the Martinez's Coach Martinez's ring that they dug up, you know?
Huh.
But
Is
yeah.
it? Yeah, I can't think of a ring that I saw in this episode, but I wasn't looking for one either because I don't I what is that from Showtime, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
I don't get
Yeah,
those
they
care
send these out weekly.
packages. So,
Gotcha. Yeah, it could have been a mistake. Ty did take off her ring, but it was such a kind of a nothing scene.
yeah.
Um, it was really overshadowed by everything else that was happening around
It
it.
seems like the kind of stuff that they'd have to get wrapped up and printed out like 2 months ago, and I know from, what little I know about the behind the scenes Hollywood stuff is that they're editing these shows, like, within a week or 2 of airing,
Yeah,
scoring them the week of, and, like, subtitling them 24 hours before they go out, so it's like, it could be that there was a scene where they had some kind of class ring of something, and it was like a 30-second thing that got cut, for final but I don't know, that'd be just speculation.
yeah. They did. There was a discrepancy actually earlier this season with one of them where for the
Really?
yeah, the season premiere, the one that we got for the season premiere had a lipstick tube, which they clearly meant to have for episode 2, which is
Mm.
when Shauna was
So they
putting a
are
lipstick on Jackie. Um,
interesting. They are
yeah.
shifting things around a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So it's very likely that that could be a discrepancy, but I
We'll have to
appreciated
keep
the,
our eyes peeled next episode.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, so we, back at the cabin, we see the little rainbow glitch thing happening again, and this time it's like Paul's apart. We started off with, um, these what if scenarios. We started off the season in Paul's apartment, and then the 2 gradually just started merging, and now it's almost entirely cabin,
Mhm.
with, like, a few elements here and there
Right.
of Paul's apartment. Um, the phone rings, Paul answers, says he's not ready, um, and, he tells Ben that he loves him. "We all love you," which is what was said to Jackie in her death dream. Um, puts on his coat, puts on Cabin Daddy's coat, um, says, "You can't stay here," and then walks out. So, what's your take on this scene, on the whole Paul and Ben thing? Like,
Man, it's tough because, like, I was debating this with my co-host Jim, and my question was, how much of this is a real? Because I you could look between the lines and see this as a real fight that they were having.
mm,
Like, you're not ready to come out.
yeah,
My apartment, which is your place to hide, is you're no longer, well, you need to leave and you're no longer welcome here. Like, this is Paul breaking up with him, but like, it also could be like a fear that Ben has of what Paul's going to do, or it also could be, the other plain reading is this is the wilderness telling Ben to kill himself. That, like, you are delaying the inevitable, that this is keeping you from getting to the place you want to be, and this is a sucky place, and or if not wilderness, some malignant force doing it. Because, like, the wilderness could be a good thing, and then there could be cabin daddy or demons or whatever is a bad kind of duality thing. I don't know. I kind of lean it's like a little bit of both. I think he is, if not the wilderness, he's going stir crazy. He's also being starved. He's had less food than these girls and the boys at this point, and it just really, the suck is setting in. He's starting to have these suicidal ideations and these intense cycles of shame and feeling rejected by his memories. So, what do you think is going on with him?
well, I kinda had a similar thought that maybe this was like an old argument that was playing out in his mind. Um, but I think Paul was essentially, like, as far as the fantasy element to it, I think Paul was talking to the wilderness on the phone,
Mm,
um, and the wilderness was and he said he's not ready. I think the wilderness wants Ben to kill himself.
hmm
Um, he doesn't have that same connection. He's not willing to, like, just completely lose himself like the girls are. Um, he he's very much an enemy to that sort of environment.
Yeah.
If the wilderness is controlling them and they're all feeding into it, Ben's kind of an enemy in that sense because he's more grounded. He hasn't lost himself yet. Um, and I think that whole scene is the wilderness wants him to kill himself, but Paul telling him, and I think that was signified with Paul saying, "We all love you," because it was the same thing that was said to Jackie. Um, but he left, which and told Ben that he couldn't stay there, which I think was Paul saying, you can't be when he said you can't be here. I think he meant you can't be in this kind of crazy headspace. Like, you
Yeah.
need to pull it together, or you're going to be offing himself. And unfortunately, Ben kind of took that the other way,
Yeah.
and he just you saw him, and he teared up, and he had kind of a smile on his face, and he was like, I'm
hmm
going to be okay, and he kind of resigned himself at that point, um, to that it's all good. I'm checking out now. I have nothing to worry about anymore.
Yeah.
And it's you could look at that as an optimistic thing. I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Like you could look at him surviving this episode and not killing himself as optimistic, but I don't think it is. I don't think he's going to last.
Yeah, it seems like the writing is on the wall. I would be extremely surprised if he makes it out at this point.
I keep going back and forth on it too, because I'm telling you, when we did the live after show on Sunday, I started thinking, oh yeah, Ben's toast. And then about halfway through, I'm like, you guys, I'm totally reversing my thinking on this. I think Ben might actually get out of the wilderness. And now I'm just back at square one where I started. So who knows? I'll probably change my mind again, like, after we get done recording this. I don't know.
Did you notice that when Ben walked out, screaming Paul, that his head was perfectly framed by antler horns?
Yes.
The same
yes,
one that's like that Lottie's been posing under all season long. Is Ben throwing his hat into the Antler Queen race?
Well, that's not even the first time we've seen that with Ben.
No way.
When they were doing charades, the antlers
He's
were
been
on the
antlered
wall.
up. Oh
Yeah.
my god. Okay, well there's the faction. You got the Lottie versus Ben.
Okay, that's I would love to see Ben as Antler Queen.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
That would be quite interesting. I would actually love to see Ben just completely lose it and become even more feral than the girls. That would be amazing.
The one-legged feral man at an ass-kicking contest. That would be.
Yes.
He's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, for sure. We go to the present really quickly, and Lisa's leading Misty to her treatment, which was what was her guidance? She picked guidance. And Misty guidance is basically a flotation chamber, aka water coffin, as Misty calls it. Sensory deprivation tank. I was feeling Misty in this scene. I mean, I've heard of this before and I've always been kind of curious about it. But when I saw the size of that tank, I was like, oh no, I would not be getting in that thing. No, way too claustrophobic. But she clearly
I've done an hour. I've done an hour in a sensory deprivation tank. It's all right.
Have you really?
Yeah, I didn't trip balls. I didn't see my pet cats or anything. I did doing the dance for me. It was just, but then it's funny because it's so funny because just 3 weeks ago I was getting my beard trimmed and my beard trim guy brought this up and he mentioned, because I said, yeah, I did the 60 minutes and like I saw some like the kind of things you see when you just close your eyes, like geometric patterns and things as it's dark and it was warm and I was floaty. But like I didn't like trip or have like a shamanistic experience. And he said that he did it for 90 minutes and did. So
wow.
Not like crazy tripping balls on LSD type of things, but like fairly intense visual and aural phenomenon. So different strokes for different folks, different floats for different folks.
I have a feeling I have a feeling if I did that, it probably would get a little crazy for me. Just because I have ADHD. So I'm somebody who like I always have a TV on in the background. I can't just sit alone with my own thoughts. You know what I mean?
Interesting unplugging experience for sure.
Yeah. I probably would. I would probably be singing and dancing huskies, and yeah.
I got the real feeling that Misty was afraid to be alone with her thoughts. Like it wasn't so much you're giving me a different perspective on it. Maybe it was just a tank, but like I got the idea that she really was unsure of what she would confront in there. Which turns out she had nothing to be afraid of because subconscious Misty has unlimited regard for herself, apparently.
Well, not entirely, because she was a little concerned when she approached Caligula about how people saw her. So I think that's a good possibility that she was afraid to be alone with her thoughts because she went into it kind of unsure. And, Caligula kind of made her get her mojo back.
But
Um,
Caligula's her, to be clear, you
right,
know?
right,
Okay, so
exactly.
it's like, so the deep down, she doesn't see herself as a lovesick loser murderer. She sees herself as a hero and someone deserving of love.
Yeah, that's what she ultimately came away with. But I think she was a little going into it. I think she was a little unsure.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Um, I have a question. When you did the whole float thing, was the thing you got into, was it that about that size? Did it look like that?
Uh-huh, it was almost, like, identical. Like, it did
Wow.
have the LED lighting on the inside, I don't recall, but, like,
Gotcha.
the shape and the hatch, everything was very, very similar.
Okay. Oh man, it just looked like I her calling it a water coffin just seemed really appropriate to me. Like I would not get in that thing.
Mm,
um, but we, right after that, she says she has to use the bathroom and escape. So she gets out of there. She books it the hell out. Um, we see young Misty overhearing the girls praising her again, followed up with them calling her psychotic and saying that she probably killed Crystal. Um, so she springs into action, gathers everybody together and says that they need to go out looking for her as Ben is doing his pre-suicide walk shave. Um, and they do the wilderness chant, but Jen and Melissa, the two kind of like red shirty characters,
yep.
are they take off and they're just like they're really it seems like they're really hoping that they find Crystal dead so they can eat her.
They're really hungry, and they've already broken the taboo, so it's like, the first person you eat's probably the toughest one, the second person, a little bit easier, you know?
Yeah.
I kind of I 'cause I we talked about this on our podcast, like, if I went down in, like, the Canadian Rockies and there was dead corpses frozen, I would be the first to suggest eating them.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I would chow down in a
Like,
minute.
I'm not gonna die. Look, it's not ideal, but I'm not gonna die while there's meat over here, okay?
Yeah.
Y'all can
Yeah.
starve to death for your fucking principles or not, but deep down, I'm an animal. This is what an animal would do to survive. I'll deal with it in therapy when I get back to civilization if I do, but I am I'm all about yeah, I will eat that. I will eat that.
Hell yeah. And if I were dying, I would make my friends promise me that they would eat me or I'd probably punch them in the
Yes, I
face
would
until
give
they did.
explicit yeah, if I was like fading away, I'd be like, I just want you to know. I had what do you say you had? Your subtitle went away, but like
Oh, yeah, sorry. I've still got the number
uh
up there. Uh,
high calorie butt. I have high calorie butt meat. I'm 6 foot
yes.
2, 255 pounds. Please make use of this resource.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's hey, there's it's only a taboo. It's not the dead person doesn't care.
Right,
Um
right.
but so the next thing that we see actually made me realize something about this episode. Van finds the bloody baby blanket and which makes Shauna like start thinking about the dream she had where they were all eating the baby. She throws the blanket in the fire. And when I was watching this back, I realized that I don't know that teen Shauna actually spoke a word until the very end.
The who?
Teen Shauna. I don't think we saw her throughout the episode, but I don't think she said anything until the very end, did she? Like
She
I think
said,
she
I mean, she
was.
definitely said she whispered, "It's me, you and me, kid."
Oh, that's right. She
And
did.
she
Okay.
also asked for Jackie to manifest
Yes.
herself in the corner. But like
Yeah,
to
you're
another
right.
person, maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Um but do you think her throwing the baby blanket in the fire with the symbol is going to have some repercussions?
If it's gonna piss off the wilderness. I don't know. I don't know how the wilderness thinks about her beating up the high priestess of the wild either.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. That's man, I don't know. Um I I I just have a feeling it's not going to be a good thing that she threw that in
Hmm.
the fire, but I don't know, we'll see. Um
And that's the
Did
other
you
thing. It's
have
like there's also just this always a steady stream of bad things happening. So it's like if something bad happens, like, well, is it because of the blanket or is this because these are teenage girls living out in the wilderness with no food and bad shit's just going to happen, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like did they piss off the wilderness before Van got her face torn off by the wolf? I don't know.
I mean, they tried to leave, so I
That's
think that probably
true.
yeah,
That's
that
true. They're defying the
probably
Red
pissed off
River, yeah.
yeah. Now did you happen to catch when Ty was painting the barn, did you happen to catch the, some of the stuff that she had painted?
No, and she like painted messages. I was just saw the one spot she was no, I didn't see that.
She was you have to look kinda closely because it was pretty small, but she painted the word "fuck." Um, yeah, everyone A.Ron was worried about keeping his language clean because he hadn't heard me swear on the podcast, and I'm like, "That's totally by accident."
Yeah, last week's podcast was very, very squeaky clean. We weren't
Wow.
working blue.
You're giving me a complex here. I need to change that. But yeah, she wrote the word "fuck" and she painted a smiley face, which I thought
The
was cute.
duality of mankind.
Yeah. um, she's not feeling it, and she tells Lottie it's not working for her, and she tells her that she's sleepwalking again, and Lottie seems to in both timelines, Lottie seems to really think that this alter of ties is a good thing, despite that she's done a lot of fucked up shit. you know? I mean, Simone is
And
in the
Lottie's
hospital.
trying to yeah, and she's trying to explain that as like that's because you're trying to repress her. So like you need to, integrate this shadow with you instead of trying to suppress it. I mentioned this on our podcast is that like um I was familiar with the concept of shadow work. I had read this
Mhm.
book by Robert Bly called The Long Tale of the Human Shadow, and it's all about, instead of a lot of times, especially in our culture, we're taught to tamp all those things down. When you have feelings of jealousy and anger, hurt, betray, all that, just shove them down, keep the stiff upper lip and all that kind of. And he argued that like that robs us of a lot of our power because yes, those are negative emotions, but like if we just repress them, like a lot of our power to, to enact things and make change and to better ourselves come from harnessing these negative energies. And it's not that like you should let them take control, but you should fully integrate them so you have a natural balance of light and shadow. But it's I don't know that that's strictly speaking something you can apply in a clinical sense. Like if someone's having like night terrors and sacrificing animals in their sleep, like maybe they do need some intervention here. And also I
Mhm.
couldn't help but notice that like this is a lot of same advice that she is trying to avoid giving herself in the guise of this delusion which she's having with her therapist later in the episode. And it's like she knows at some level that this is unhealthy. you
Yeah.
know it sounds good, like if you're talking about a woman who's got average problems, she's got career problems, she's unable to articulate her wants to her husband or what, like you need to get in touch with individuality and what you need and need to be like. But like, yeah, when you're talking about literally hurting people, killing people,
Mhm.
you should be made more circumspect. But Lottie's obviously trying to take the brakes off the crazy train. She's trying to unleash that in herself, so of course she's going to say that to Ty.
Yeah. Which I'm not really sure that Ty is in a place to hear that where when her wife is in the hospital and, she cut her dog's head off. I mean, I don't know that there's a whole lot that Lottie could say to kind of get her to change her thinking on that.
Yeah,
Um, but, there could be a method to the madness. I mean, she could have a point. If she just goes with it, maybe like other
yeah,
Ty will lay off her family and Steve will be okay and she'll
yeah.
just sleepwalk a lot. Who knows?
It will get. They are a little bit. I worry that it's very tough to write scenes like this without dealing with the things that happened in the past, and they can't because they don't want one timeline spoiling the other. This
Yeah.
felt like a very stilted conversation. Like, I feel like if they were having it, like, Lottie would be like, like that time in the cabin when you did this and it led to this and that. But Lottie's like this dialogue's written as if Ty just came into her, group off the street,
Mhm.
uh and I think they get away with it by being kind of very oblique, but they're in a tricky spot now that they're having the Yellow Jackets in present time deal with their past trauma that demands a level of specificity. I also that's kind of funny that like Misty got shut down. I think it's part of the writer room, like, oh no, we don't want to get too much into talking about any of those summers or any of those winters, but it
Yeah.
is something I'm very curious to see how whether we're just going to start getting a huge, well, now we're getting close to the end of season 2, we're going to get this huge list of disclosures, or are they going to find a way to put that back in the bottle,
Yeah. Yeah. I think the writers said, I think the showrunner said that we're not going to get a whole lot of answers on Ty until like season 3.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think the murder investigation is probably going to take up a lot of
That might
space.
waylay some, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Um, we Misty on her quest to get away from the water cabin or the water coffin finds Shauna by a tree. Um, Man, she dropped the ball. She let the goat get away.
You literally had one job, Shauna. Watch
Yeah.
the goat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, this thing is so adorable. How are you not just like playing with him the whole time and letting him chew
It's
on your
like
hair and
yeah, it's like, oh, it's got this cute baby. It's got, oh, I'm gonna, I, because she's trying to keep it at arm's length. Like, I mean,
yeah,
this is very, bacon gauntlet, ham fisted, but like, she's keeping this cute goat at arm's length because she doesn't want to get attached to it because she thinks she's gonna have to hurt it in the very
right.
same way she's doing to Callie. But it's also like, good lord, it was 12 feet away from you, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, she didn't look very hard, but I mean, she found him right after she started looking.
Right.
I love the line that Misty has about how, she hands her some sort of food item and to use as bait to find the goat. She's like, I'm hoarding food in case they try to go the starvation route to like find themselves or whatever she said. But it was a
Mhm.
really funny line. I appreciated it.
Yeah, you can tell she's listened to a couple of podcasts about high control groups and how they try to brainwash you, and they're gonna try to withhold granola bars, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's very misty. Like I said, this is the mistiest episode they've had in a long while.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I really enjoyed her throughout this whole thing. Um they have a really interesting conversation about like Shauna actually basically calls her a serial killer. And
Yeah, I thought that was interesting that it seemed like it was played by Christina Ricci as a new thought that Misty was having when she's like, "Well, you're not that innocent," and Shauna's like, "Whatever gave the impression that you think that I think I'm innocent?"
yeah.
And, like, I think Misty kind of thinks around that these girls are going in some kind of deep, I don't know, like, it was just something like that the idea that these women are aware that they have transgressed and they've done bad things, I don't think it's something that Misty was aware of. Um,
Yeah.
because I don't think that's how she operates. I think Misty just full on justifies, I'm actually not a terrible person. You only think that because you don't know enough about me to know why what I'm doing is actually okay and normal. Whereas Shauna just owns it. I'm just a terrible person.
Yeah. Misty seems to be the only one that's not traumatized.
Yes, that's why I'm like, it's weird in a way that like Misty's self-regard for herself is clearly the most healthy of any of the Yellow Jackets,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
She
I'm
thrives in
yeah.
chaos.
And then, to like, what Sean is saying is like, I'm a garbage person is not true either. She's just a
Yeah.
person. She's a person who's capable and has done terrible things. It doesn't mean she has to do terrible things in the future, blah, blah, blah. But like, this show's really good at it, like showing that as crazy as Misty is, you're not going to have anything but a miserable life if you hate yourself and are ashamed of yourself. A
Yeah.
lot of these other women's big core problems is their inability to deal with that negative side of themselves and things that they were forced to do. in that crazy situation they're put in. They have this not just guilt but shame about it.
Mhm.
But Misty there's none of that. No shame in that game.
Yeah. Yeah, not at all. And, I always say I think Shauna is the one who is most in need of therapy because she really needs to get in touch with her feelings, but, I mean, if they start going the therapy route, we're not gonna really have a show, so we need them to be all a little fucked up, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, we don't want that. We don't want them normalized. We need them freaking out and yeah, and being complete messes. Um, but so going back to the past. Now, I I loved this because Sammy Hanratty has been doing such a great job this season. Um, she I love so it really jumped out at me. The fake crying really jumped out at me. Like I just thought it was brilliant. Um, she I mean, she's so obvious with it, which is funny. Like it takes a certain skill in acting to be really good at being obviously fake.
Mhm.
uh,
Yes, especially since we see her later in the episode genuinely having a breakdown and it's very
yeah,
authentic. Like
yeah,
it's not like she's incapable, but like it takes a very good actor to portray being a bad one. Yes.
yes, yes, exactly. She's saying she doesn't want to look for Crystal because she can't find her like that. Um, and I could not believe Mari. Like,
She's over it from the jump.
my God. I mean, her only response was, "Yeah, sure. You go back to the cabin and we'll look for your dead friend." Like,
Yeah, and
wow.
as soon as the tears start, she's like got the side eye. She is firing off that left, right, and well, I guess you only do left, right. It's not side eye if you're doing it center. But she's yeah. Mari, she just hates, and she's the one that was the first one to instigate about like she probably killed Crystal because she's psychotic.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Um,
but
I
Misty's she's done some shit that it's one of those tough luck cases where it's like Misty's one of those types. It's like you do get bullied a lot, but also, damn girl. I don't know if it's the home environment or what happened to make you like this, but you are really fucking annoying too. Like someone needs to roll up their sleeves and like civilize this poor woman before she starts killing elderly people in nursing homes.
yes. Yeah, exactly. Um, I
Just a few
always
social cues and graces, maybe some therapy, maybe something to deal with. Like maybe she's on the spectrum. They need, but in the 90s, we didn't believe in all that. Just bullied the shit out
right.
of people.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I always joke that I used to joke that Mari and Akila were like the Statler and Waldorf of the show. Um,
Yeah.
but I think it's just Mari at this point.
Uh-huh. Yeah. She's the one woman heckler.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I feel like she's Statler and she's Waldorf. Um, but my God, my so I do an MVP and an LVP every week. Um, my MVP is the Sassy Magazine Award because that was like probably my favorite thing from the 90s was Sassy Magazine, which
All
every
right.
cool 90s girl read. Um, my LVP is the Zubaz Award. Please tell me
Zubas.
please tell me you don't remember Zubaz, huh?
Are Zubas the workout pants?
They're the really
Like,
ugly, like, yeah, they had loud prints and
yeah,
complete
yeah.
idiots.
They're
Yeah.
like the LuLaRoes, but for bros, gym bros.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
Yes, I
Lulu Rose
do.
Monroe is
This is a memory that's being unlocked. Yes.
okay. Yeah, so my LVP award is the Zubaz award, and my Zubaz award this week goes to the snow.
Just because
It
are
was
you talking about how it looks so fake?
yes.
Jim
Oh my
said the same
God.
thing. Yeah, he went in on how like this is, and it's bad because it's like nothing looked good. The drifts on the cabin, the fact that
Yeah.
like it's like 6 foot deep, but like literally 2 seconds later, Shauna's walking on this path and it's like not even ankle deep snow. It's like yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty
It
bad.
looked fine all season. I mean, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, what
But
I don't know, maybe they just ran out of snow effects. It's like almost at the end of winter and they just burned through their snow CGI budget and
yeah, I mean, I felt like it almost looked like confetti. I mean, it was bad. It was really
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, it's like
And
the
you
old
really
soap flake
noticed it.
stuff they used to use in like 1930s Hollywood. It was bad. It's really bad.
Yeah. And you saw it when especially when Ben fell. I mean, it was just the way it
Yeah, that's
flew
a
up. It was just
real that did not look good close up.
no, not at all. Um, I think, like, when you see him hobbling out in the snow at this point, I think it's kind of obvious what he's doing. I mean, there's just,
Yeah.
like, he's not gonna be hobbling around in the snow for
No,
flying
not like
forever.
this snow should be like hip deep to everyone and almost
Yeah,
impassable without snowshoes. And he's just like one legging and I guess he's tripoding his way through.
he's on a mission.
The wilderness heard that
Um,
they wanted to get out and they snowblowed all the paths for them. Yeah,
yes, yes,
that's the only
yes.
explanation.
That's what we're gonna go with.
Supernatural confirmed.
That's what we're gonna go with. I just hope that they don't use the wilderness as a, in the future as, like, an excuse for bad writing at some point.
Well, yeah.
So far, the
We'll
writing's been
see.
great, in my opinion, but
Oh
hopefully
yeah, it's that this is a really I think so far been a tightly written show.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, so, Misty is basically she wanted to get away from the other girls because she wanted to find Crystal so they wouldn't eat her. Um, which is which I thought was a little strange, but, like, I'm not sure why she was so willing to eat Jackie and poison Ben, but she doesn't wanna eat Crystal, who's already dead, most likely, you know?
It's some kind of way that she can redeem her friendhood.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Um,
Um,
but
because
she
yeah,
does
it's like
find
at first I
Ben.
thought she was trying to hide the body because she's trying to hide her, but like that's
That's
the
what I thought.
falling off the cliff is the perfect like we got separated in the blizzard. I couldn't see a foot in front of my face. She clearly kept on going down the path and just fell off the cliff. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's but I don't know. It's also might be Misty feeling a little guilty because she like sh Crystal was not even on her mind,
Yeah.
when she's clearing and she's like all puffed up about how everyone's praising her for how well. And then it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of weird that it's been 3 days and blah blah blah. So I maybe this is like an overreaction. Like I got to keep my friend from being because it wasn't her and Crystal talking about how they wanted to make broth out of Jackie's bones instead of.
I think so, yeah.
I thought so too. So it's I don't know. It's a weird quirk of Misty that she didn't want him to
Yeah.
eat her friend.
Yeah, it is really strange. Um, but she finds Ben and does tell him that she's willing to eat him in his high-calorie butt meat. Um, she,
It's so such a yeah. Like she tries every way you can manipulate a human being
yeah.
in the space of 30 seconds. Like just like she's twisting him like a Rubik's cube. What is the thing? What is the leverage I can get to get you to do the thing I want you to do or not do at this case? And she finally finds like what the one that a normal human would use
Mhm.
right off
Yeah.
the bat is like, oh my God, I feel responsible for killing someone. I can't be responsible for killing another person. And that's like, I thought that was interesting that he's enough of still like an educator and a mentor and a leader to these girls that got to him. Like, yeah, that's even Misty. Even I can't even do that to Misty.
Yeah. I thought about this a lot because I was thinking, okay, he didn't even care about her telling the world that he impregnated Shauna and that he had sex with everybody and he didn't even care about that. And I was thinking about this. I'm like trying to put myself in his situation and I'm thinking, okay, would that get me down off the ledge? Like if I knew that these people were going to spill my deepest darkest secrets, say terrible untrue things about me, would that get me off the ledge? Probably not. But there's some part I sat and thought about this for a while. I'm like, yeah, I think some part of me would respond to like making like feeling responsible for somebody else's trauma. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like if that's essentially what got him to step back was like he couldn't do that to her. Um and she was being really genuine. I mean, she didn't want him to, I mean, she couldn't deal with that. And which is
Yeah.
funny too because he asked her to push him. I mean,
That's the thing that I think was extra surprising is like I think that's such a that really tells you what he thinks of Misty in terms of like you seem the type of person that can shove a person off a cliff and not feel bad about it at all. You crazy, crazy lady, you.
yeah.
But then also respect her feelings enough about not wanting to be seen as complicit in someone's death on two deaths in one day. Touched him enough to like maybe I shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, like her threatening, like all this stuff, like because the other thing I think in the calculus of this is like, does he think that the rest of the team would go along with that? If she starts ranting and raving about like, oh, he impregnated me, tried to impregnate everybody, like the other girls would be like, no, actually, she was the crazy one. She tried to poison Coach to, get like the continue to take. Yeah, had this like crazy misery Stephen King plot line with them. So it's like I wonder if some of that, like, because like everything she said kind of confirmed his resolve. Because I don't think he believed the other girls would do the other shit. And then her saying, "I'll tell your parents you're gay." He's like, "Yeah, actually, that's my one piece of unfinished business. Would you do
Yeah.
that?" And then push me off. But
Yeah.
then he did, yeah. But then he did care enough about her state of mind to not, yeah. It's and then maybe he's just not ready yet, like Paul said in the cabin. Like deep
Yeah.
down, he wasn't ready. He needed to be pushed, and if she wasn't going to push him, then that's all there was to it.
I also feel like it may have given him a sense of purpose because I think he may have just in that brief moment may have realized with Misty's help, shit, the other girls are going to think she pushed me and this is going to go
Ooh,
really badly for her. Um and that could have given him a sense of purpose to like prevent that from happening, you know.
yeah. Or in
It's
the something in the way of it all, he could just be like sum up as like, man, there's been a lot of crazy shit happen. If I just off myself, the only adult left in the room, maybe these girls all just go completely crazy and all die. So it's like
yeah.
maybe he does feel a little bit of responsibility. He's been a pretty, like I said, I mean, the way he has, especially when you look at the situation he was in with Paul going into this and regrets he had, he's kind of been a stand-up guy in maintaining a leadership, steadying force thus far. He's the one that kind of like rallied everyone to go out and find Crystal, right? The other girls are kind of like, and he's like, no, they're right. If Javi can be out there for 3 months, she could be out there for 3 days. And he
Yeah.
still commands a decent amount of respect. And I like Coach Ben. I like Coach Ben. He's an interesting guy.
This is the Coach Ben hate podcast.
Uh-oh.
But
I stepped on the third rail of the Antler Queen podcast. You guys
it's
hate
not
Coach Ben?
it's not a genuine hate. It's just I mean, do I like him as a character? Yeah. I think he's a good character. I think Steven Kruger is doing a great job playing him. I think he's a good guy. I just want to see the all out craziness that happens when he's not around anymore.
Oh, I'm on record of saying that I think it would be cool if they take his other arms off slow, like he'd use him as a living refrigerator. Because that's so fucked up, and that's where I think this show needs to go. But like, I wouldn't enjoy. Yeah, Coach doesn't deserve that.
Yeah.
But nobody in a horror movie deserves any of the shit that happens to him, and it's going to happen anyway. So
Yeah. I keep saying I'm gonna make Team Ben BQ shirts for the show.
okay.
No, I fully admit my hatred of Coach Ben is completely irrational and I don't even agree with it. But it's just fun to hate on him just because he's he's the only adult there.
Mm-hmm.
He's keeping things a little too down to earth. He needs to get out.
You want the steady hand off the wheel. Yeah, I
Yes,
see.
exactly.
I see what we're rooting for here.
um so we we see Misty um in the present day, and she finally agrees to get into the water coffin. And one of the greatest scenes I've ever seen in television ensues.
Mhm.
Um, this was fucking amazing. You know, I'll tell you, I didn't know who was playing Caligula ahead of time. And I swear to God, when I heard the voice for a second, I thought it was Dennis O'Hare.
Ah, interesting.
It kind of sounded like him. Um, but yeah, so what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
It's great. It's amazing. I'm of an age where Christina Ricci was a big part of my appreciation for women from the time I was like in junior high on, and I enjoyed seeing her, in her swimming suit, and like especially when she emerges from that tank. Oh my god. I also love the way, like, just the way she plays Misty, that's easing into the water, like, oh god, it's in my hair. It's just
Yeah,
the way she's so uncomfortable with the procedure. And then yeah, when the Caligula showed up, and it's John Cameron Mitchell, and he just like he's got the beak and the nails and everything. It's just great. And then Elijah Wood doing this soft shoe vaudeville act in the back. It's yeah, I love this. I love when a fairly grounded show, like in Mad Men, when Bert Cooper died, and he does the tap dancing kind of send off. And I love it when you have like a pretty grounded normal show, and they hit this kind of like Hollywood musical gear. It's one of my favorite things ever. So yeah, I was super in the tank for this. I was there with
yeah.
Misty in the tank. What
So
about
so
you?
was I. So was I. Everything about it was fantastic. I loved that Caligula was basically a bird humanoid, but he was wearing a bird suit. I loved that. Um,
Yeah.
I loved the Garfield phone. Um,
Yes.
that was pretty amazing. I liked that Misty had the lips phone that they showed her in her room when during that flashback when the girls were prank calling her. Um,
Gotcha. Right.
that was kind of interesting. I liked that. The song was great. The flight recorder and the syringes floating around her, like everything was so perfect. And now I don't know if you saw this online and all, but someone figured out that the Morse code from the buttons that he was pushing spell out "I love you" in reverse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the whole thing was great. Um, and afterward, she goes and visits Caligula in his dressing room. Did you notice the Queen of Hearts card?
I it was pinned in the mirror.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 It was
Interesting. Does that imply that Misty was a queen at some point?
I don't know. I think it might have just been a little Easter egg. Um,
Hmm.
but there is do you ever watch heavy spoilers on YouTube?
No.
I check out his videos every once in a while, and the other day, like, I didn't even mean to watch this because I hadn't done my recap yet, and I don't like to watch or listen to other people's stuff before I don't wanna be influenced.
Mhm.
Um, so I didn't even mean to watch it. It just, like, I was really involved in a task and had YouTube on in the background, and it came on, and I just didn't change it, and man, this guy, talk about an eagle eye. Like, I went back and watched it, and I was just staring at my screen, and I still couldn't see it, but he managed to get a really good close-up shot of sitting on the table was a newspaper with, with a big picture of the soccer team, and there
Hmm.
was a headline about the crash. At like, talk about an eagle eye, jeez.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I thought that was kinda cool. I mean, I looked for it. I paused it. I freeze framed it, like, it yeah, I
He's
couldn't
got that
see anything.
4K freeze frame.
Yeah, exactly. Caligula was great. I loved his accent. I loved the beak. I just Yeah, I loved everything. Um,
I think it's interesting that, like, it implies that, you know, Misty's greatest fear is to be seen as this desperate for love murderer.
yeah,
But when she emerges from the tank, her first act is to confirm that she's kind of a desperate for love, and we know she's murdered, so murderer, right? Like, that's her
yeah.
deep fear, is that if someone real that she exposed, or people find that out about her, or that it's not true, but, like, it is kind of literally true.
Yeah, and I think that's why I think she essentially called Walter because she's accepting this about herself, and I think she had a fear of anybody finding that out about her, but he's just flat out accepts it.
Yeah,
I mean, he
yeah,
thinks she killed Adam, and he's like,
he's cool
"Mm,
with it.
yeah, yeah." Um, even the song, even the lyrics to the song, "We'll tiptoe through the tulips and dance on the graves of any
Any
motherfucker who gets in your way."
motherfucker that gets in your way, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, these are all that, like, she's really just embracing herself here.
Yeah.
Um, and, I think
Everything's
that's
fully justified. You're not a killer, you're a closer. You do the things that need to be done, but no one else has the stomach for. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that's exactly why she calls Walter right after that. She's like, This guy gets it. I don't have to be afraid of him learning that about me." And,
On
um
on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is a normal phone call and 10 is like a 3 AM drunk dial, where does this phone call, 'cause it starts off okay. I really thought she's gonna turn that hairpin curve, but right around the time she starts talking about his grandmother, it just starts you just it starts to flip off the road. And the last 10 seconds of it is like, wow. The
Okay,
laugh.
the laugh was brilliant. If I don't know that I can give it. Wait, what's the most off the rails,
From
1 or 10?
1 as 3 AM drunk dial,
Yeah,
where it's this incoherent, sobbing mess, just completely off-putting.
I would see, it's hard for me to. Okay, this is the best way I can explain it. I don't know that I can give it a number in that sense.
Hmm.
I I'm married, but when I was single, a lot of stuff freaked me out really easily. Like,
Sure. People do
if I
that.
mean, it didn't take that strange of a voicemail for me to be like, "Yeah, I'm not calling this guy back." Um,
Block.
I if a guy had called me and left me this voicemail message, I probably would have called him back, like, immediately, just because I would
Really?
have been laughing so goddamn hard.
Okay, okay. Well, and it's also hard to judge how Walter will take it, because he's a weirdo too. In fact, I don't
Yeah.
even know who the real Walter is. Like, does the real Walter like show tunes, or is that Walter did a lot of research to Misty to know that she likes show tunes and he doesn't? Like, is he? They're both like these talented Mr. Ripley types. So, like,
Yeah.
what is the real them? So
Yeah.
I don't know that I know enough about Walter to know if he would be freaked out, or if he's gonna be like, "Oh my god, it's so cute. You hang up." No, and yeah, I don't know. He's got a worse laugh. I don't know.
That I would love to hear that if he does. That laugh is just everything.
How many snorts is gonna? It's all snort, no
Yes.
laugh.
I think that's the first time we heard her snort. She's done the first part of her laugh. She's done that laugh before on the show.
Yeah, and the
But
young
we
Misty has. I think that's what's really funny is, like, have we seen adult Misty do like the young Misty laugh
I don't think so.
before?
I don't
I
think
always
so.
hesitate to say that, because it's been like, what, 17 episodes, so I wouldn't swear by it, but yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Now, if okay, let's say you're single and a woman calls and leaves that message on your voicemail. Are you calling her back?
It's pretty, no, I don't know. I don't know. I'm with you. I kind of think a little bit of earnest cringe is cute.
Yeah.
Um, but it's the total picture here of Misty,
Yes.
Um what she's put out to this point. But yeah, I could see that being kind of charming.
I think so. Um, but he was clearly trying to. I mean, he peeled out of there pretty quickly when she wanted him to
He
drop
seemed
her
like he was
off.
upset, yeah. But then he was also calling her a bunch. He's blowing up her phone.
Exactly. So I'm curious if he was calling her because he was trying to get her back, or if he was calling her because like he found out something about Adam, you know?
Oh,
Um,
yeah, there's some hot you got some yeah, there's some hot things to consider around that
yeah.
when we get to it.
Yeah, yeah. What I'm really hoping is not the case is that I'm hoping that he didn't tip off the cops kind of as like revenge
That's
for
what I was getting at, yeah, that he might have or not even revenge or as a way to apply pressure to her to kinda manipulate her,
yeah.
like, I can help you make this go away, but, like, if you don't wanna be my friend, I can just be a citizens bureau detective and, bust this case wide open because you're sloppy. You've been sloppy Joe, Misty.
Yeah.
The torso
Um
doesn't matter.
man. Yeah. I mean, I think we're going to see Walter again, but
Oh, for sure.
I I don't know that he's going to be making it out alive.
No, I very when I saw Elijah Wood cast and what I thought his role is gonna likely be, I'm like, "Oh, he's the seasoned Jennifer." It's gonna
Mhm.
be a different way for someone to try to outsmart and get the goat of Misty, but it's gonna be the same. But I don't know. The fact that he's positioned himself as a Moriarty implies more of an arch nemesis. So maybe he will. But it's yeah, I feel like it's Elijah Wood's a hard get for more than a season of television.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, it's a
Um
little meta. I hate being meta when I'm analyzing fiction, but I just can't help it.
yeah. Yeah, I've really been enjoying him in this role though because he tends to play like I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan. I mean, I haven't seen more than the one movie. Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm evil. Um,
Yeah, that's
but
heterodox opinions here.
um
Yeah, Coach Ben hater, Lord of the Ring hater. Why am I on this podcast again? Oh, anyway, what about Elijah's performance in this that you like? The fact he
I
doesn't have hairy feet, no pointed ears.
no, I love like I'm so used to him playing just really kind of darkly weird, creepy characters,
Sure.
and he's still kind of creepy, but he's creepy in a fun way.
Yeah.
Um, like
You've seen
I'm
Sin
not.
City, right?
What's up? Oh yeah,
Yeah, he plays literally a dead-eyed cannibal. Yeah.
yeah. He was in Maniac. Did you see? Have you
Mm,
seen Maniac?
I have seen Maniac, yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty creepy in that. Um, yeah, he's done a lot of really. He was kind of creepy in Wilfred. Did you watch Wilfred?
No, that's the one about the guy who befriends the rats. Or no, that's the
No,
one where the rabbit, right?
no. It's
Oh, shit. Okay.
yeah. It was I don't know how many seasons it was on for, but Elijah Wood played a guy with a dog. Um, the dog's name was Wilfred, but the dog everybody saw this dog as a regular dog, but he saw him as a person in a dog suit. And it was I stopped watching it because the show started out just fucking hilarious. And
Yeah.
the guy that played Wilfred was just phenomenally funny. But it kind of started just getting a little too weird and that isn't totally what I had signed on for. It started getting a little too serious. So I stopped watching it. But yeah, I highly recommend checking it out though, because the first season was pretty awesome.
Well, all right.
Um, but I was actually kind of hoping when I found out that there was going to be a humanoid Caligula. I was kind of slightly hoping for a crossover with Wilfred, where Elijah would
Get Wilfred in there, yeah.
yeah brings his dog in a his dog is a man in a dog costume and Wilfred and Caligula fall in love and but no such luck. Um, so Van's foraging seems to have gone the best because she just straight up went and got a bottle from her truck.
I have a feeling that like I feel like the foraging was actually like this other kind of monkey paw Sisyphean task, and like Van looked at him like, nah, fuck this. I'm just gonna find a bottle of booze. Or she made it take a truck and did she find it or did she go drive to the nearest liquor store and buy it, you know?
Yeah, she could have done that too. But yeah, I kind of appreciated that. But we saw Ty taking off her ring and putting it on the little tree altar, which was interesting. Um, but like
Like
Ty
giving
said,
herself permission to cheat with Van.
yeah, I don't know. It was weird, but like it was hilarious because like it's the second almost as soon as she sat down, they started making out.
Oh, and like the passion. Like it
Yes.
was like 25 years of it just like coming to an instant head.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course it all gets ruined by the cancer reveal. Um she's very explicit in that she doesn't have long to live. It wasn't caught early. She's terminal. Um what are your thoughts on this? Do you really think that she's gonna go?
Not by cancer. I mean, this is Yellowjackets, so she might die. But no, I'm with you. I don't know if there's going to be Wilderness or the Johns Hopkins Super Doc, but I can't imagine. You know
Yeah.
what would be the point? Story. What would be the point storytelling wise?
Exactly. And Lauren Ambrose, I mean, she had her agent call up and say that she wanted to be on the show because she was so in love with the show. So she was basically begging them to put her on. And which was, perfect because they had already had her in mind for the role. But I don't think she's in a hurry to leave anytime soon. Um she is, I mean, everyone loves Van. Um Lauren Ambrose has a pretty big following. I don't think I don't see the cancer story actually playing out, and I think there's gonna be a blood sacrifice. I'm just a little nervous about who or what the blood sacrifice will entail.
It'll be Randy. It'll be fine.
No,
Uh,
not Randy.
well, so I think it's interesting because like I always like well I what you know I love Anne. I don't want to see her die, but also like I also want to see the writers do their original plan.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Vince Gilligan wanted to kill Jesse Pinkman in season 1 of Breaking Bad. The writer strike happened in the middle, and they're like, you know what, this kid's actually got something. Let's flesh this thing out. So
Yeah.
even if they were planning, unless they're killing her at the end of the season, like maybe there'll be another, the writer strike enabled inspiration that will save her. But yeah, I think it'd be. I mean, I'm not saying that there's nothing interesting they could do with just having her die of cancer, just plain old cancer. Like that's kind of her arc. Is like that's her. She's always thought she was going to be meant for better things. Or the other thing is maybe she can do something in a self-sacrificial way that is that she sees as her life purpose, and like the
Oh god,
cancer
I
is the
hope not.
impetus of like of like well, I'm not, yeah, I don't either, but I'm saying that would be an interesting dramatic possibility too, that like I've been looking for my life to be meaning. Here at the end, I finally understand, and this is why I can sacrifice, and it seems like that's a big portion of the wilderness cult is the idea of sacrificing, sacrificing of yourself and of others. So that's the
Yeah.
one, but I hope Van stays around till the end.
She needs to stick around so she can get bitten more. I mean,
She needs more cool scars. That's what I say
yes.
about Van. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. And the poor girl just can't stop getting bitten either. Um, but I accidentally skipped over a big thing, and that's Shauna bringing the goat back. And man, this guy, if the snow did not get the Zubas award for this week, I would give this Todd guy the Zubas award because he just
oh, is that the
totally
goat
let her
wrangler?
think. Yeah. I mean, he let her think that she was gonna have to kill this goat. Like, he never stopped her, told her, "No, you don't have to kill this goat." He just let
But
her
it's
think that.
self-care, like, it's like what Yoda says about oh my god, have you watched Star Wars?
Yes.
Okay, alright. I just wanted to see because like, you hit me at the no Lord of the Rings, so before I drop a Yoda reference, let me make sure you'll understand it. When
Yes.
he goes to that dark side, tree, and Luke's like, "What's in there?" And he's like, Only what you take with you." It might be one
Yeah.
of those kind of Zen things, like, "Hey, lady, you're bringing all this crazy goat killing energy. We could talk about it in group later, but like, you gotta. This is self care."
Yeah. Um, I do find it absolutely fascinating that she unloaded on Lottie the way she did. Um, because she did that last week too. And Shauna's way of dealing with trauma has basically been to just completely numb herself to everything. And we've seen her break down 2 weeks in a row now. Um, one to douchebag cop and one to and once to Lottie. Um, I'm wondering how this is gonna go because I don't know, I'm a little nervous about, in the preview for next week. Have you seen the preview?
A general policy, I don't do previews.
Gotcha.
Because like but anyway, yeah, I'm not really spoiler phobic, and I don't consider previews a huge spoiler. But so yeah, if you want to talk about it,
Okay. Well, in the preview for next week, we get there's a short little voiceover from Callie saying something about her mom's lost her mind, and we also see the Sadecki family portrait hanging on the wall, and there's a giant blood splash over Callie.
oh,
I don't think Sean is going to kill Callie. I'm worried that Callie might freak out and do herself in.
hmm,
Shauna is suddenly breaking down, getting in touch with her emotions. She's embracing her daughters as her own. I mean, when Jeff called her at the end, I was kind of moved by the fact that like the first words out of her mouth were, is Callie okay?
yeah. After
Um,
she's been pushing her at arm's length her entire life, yeah.
yeah. So I'm really worried at this point that something might happen to Callie. Um, maybe she like maybe the investigation is going to make her feel hopeless and she's just going to do herself in, or I don't know. I'm nervous though. Um,
Could be a bait and switch, and she's leaving. She's trying to entrap Jay, because that seems like that's her. In absence of her mother, like she would try to like really set that hook, right? The thing that him being um a sexual deviant, right? So it might be
yeah.
something she's trying to set him up, that like, oh, my mom's wigging out and I want to meet you again. And
Oh, like maybe she's
um
saying that to him. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, like that voicemail. It's like, I know it's like, yeah, I could see her trying to solve that problem herself, but yeah,
Okay.
blood splash over the frame.
Yeah, definitely ominous. Um, there also was I couldn't tell though if this was just it looked like it might just be clever editing. You could see at one point adult Shauna holding a knife and it flashed to young Shauna, kind of like reminiscent of when she killed Adam, you know what I mean? Um, so I have a feeling someone's going to be dying.
Clearly,
Next
we're at an
weekend.
inflection point with Shauna. Like that was this
Yeah.
whole point of the climax of this episode, is that she
Mhm.
is at, there is she's been the kind of the one lone holdout. I think Nat and is kind of neutral still to antagonistic against the Wilderness, but it's like her and Nat are the holdouts of the Wilderness love fest.
Yeah.
And I think this Lottie is a big play to bring her onto her side of the table, that she's counting on that. I don't even know about if it's a act of conscious thought, but like, Shauna's going to feel very guilty and feels like she owes me something, and she's going to be invested in, this thing I'm trying to do. And I think it's going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. It let's yeah. It'll be very interesting if it does. Um Now, the next thing we see is Lottie in her therapist's office. There were a lot of opinions about this therapist from the beginning. Were you a little suspicious of her to start with?
Especially last week when we didn't see her face. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is Alarm Bell City. And then we did see her. Like, I literally in my notes was like typing up I don't take notes of my first one, but I was mentally thinking like, oh God, I guess I was wrong about the therapist theory. And then 15 seconds later, is it a hunt without violence feeds no one? And I'm like, oh my God, no, it was right on. Yeah. So clearly Lottie has invented this permission structure to, I think, take her off her meds and put her back into that cabin space. And
Yeah.
if that's the case, I wonder what triggered it. Her rescuing Nat, like getting Nat back into her life, and that started, these feelings again, or, like what happened? Because they established this timeline of like her regular doctor being on a sabbatical, which I don't, that all this stuff could be in her mind. But
Yeah.
it does seem like that she's been off her meds for some time, and it's really starting to catch up to her.
I there could have been something that happened before this, but as far as what we've seen on the show, I think what kicked it off is Travis coming to her. Um, because from what we saw of how of her version of the events surrounding his death, um, we saw her freak out and see Laura Lee. And clearly things were not okay after that point. Um, and I think that, she said that she told Natalie that she sent her people after her because she knew that, like, with Travis dying, she knew that Natalie was probably not gonna take that very well. But I have a feeling it was more because Lottie was worried about the wilderness, or, she wanted to. I
Yeah,
think
and I'm not entirely sure we ever got the truth about what Lottie what happened between Lottie and Travis,
yeah,
you
I don't
know.
think we did.
And it could be
Um,
she's just trying to like get Nat to find out what she knows, or yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that's unfinished. Um, but, I did appreciate the gay antler queen vibes, the rainbow. I appreciate the queer representation in the antler queen, the rainbow antler queen.
Where there's a rainbow? I didn't notice the rainbow part of it.
It was the whole glitchiness thing.
Oh, the
Um,
VHS kind of
yeah,
effect. I gotcha. I gotcha. I
but
was
it
gonna say we
was
already have Coach Ben throwing his hat in the ring. We got Ty might be a aspect of Antler Queen. Well, yeah, we're definitely getting the representation in there.
yes, for sure. Um, but, yeah, I mean, what made me suspicious of the therapist is that she always had on the same colors as Lottie. Every time we saw them together, she was wearing the
Oh,
same color.
interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was really slick how they slowly did the reveal, like in high speed. You know how you've noticed that he starts off as Paul's apartment and becomes with slight decorative elements from the wilderness, and then it becomes the
Mhm.
wilderness with like one of Paul's lamps. Like they
Yeah.
did that in like the space of 5 seconds. They pushed really in on Lottie, so when they pulled out, you saw like, oh my God, I'm in. I'm not in this office building anymore. I'm in my cab. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was cool.
The hell of a
Um,
reveal.
yeah, and, and that's exactly why, like, after that happened, she has a freak out, and she tries to, all the other ladies are in the little sharing shack, and, she tries to get them to leave. She's just completely freaked out at this point.
Like I said, her
Um,
conscious self knows this is a bad idea, but her
yeah.
unconscious self is definitely trying to sabotage this. I appreciate that about Lottie, that they've introduced this angle this season, is that Lottie deep down is unsure of herself and does not believe. I remember that time where she goes and tries to communicate the spirit, and she kind of rolls her eyes like, this is stupid. I can't believe this works myself. But like in the
Mhm.
moment, she can get caught up in it. She just like jumps in and starts doing this weird shit, just following her. But then when she takes a step back, like, oh my God, what am I doing? And I like that kind of like this abject horror. Like, this is a bad idea. We got to cancel all this stuff. But clearly, what she said to Ty, what she said to herself in the guise of the therapist, is taking her in a different direction.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I I have to point something out that I really appreciated. Um, Eventually Natalie talks her into just chilling out, relaxing, having some drinks. They kind of sit down and start talking. Okay. I think it's Shauna that or Misty that mentioned that Nat had slept with Kevin Tan. And
Yeah, it's that passive
Shaun
aggressive dig she's getting in.
yeah. And somebody, I think it was Van, said, "Really? The goth? What was that like?" And now he's like, "Well, he wasn't goth when we fucked."
We were debating that on our podcast. Like, what do people presume the goths fuck like?
Right?
You know?
I am so amused by the fact that they keep referring to him as goth freak Kevin Tan. Like, I was in
Right.
high school at the same time as the Yellowjackets, and there were like 50 goth kids in my school. Like,
Oh yeah,
nobody
yeah.
is
It was a
gonna,
big faction. Yeah.
yeah, no one's gonna be remembered as the goth kid. So I call bullshit on
Well, I was wondering that
Kevin
because, like,
Tan.
in over in the male sphere, we tend to eroticize the, you always hear the big titty goth girlfriend, right? That's the ideal. But like, do women idealize that on the man? Is there like goth chasers on that are not goth themselves, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just
Eh,
like it's just one of those ick. You hear that a lot. Ick. It's just something that gives them.
I think it's just kind of neither here nor there. I mean, it's I I didn't really like I wouldn't classify myself. I was referred to as goth a lot back then, but I wouldn't really classify myself as that just because I had purple hair and wore blue shirts all the time.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. We get to choose our own labels. That it's like society gets to make their snap judgments too.
But I don't remember any of my more gothy girlfriends like specifically dating goth guys. So I think it was just kind of,
I'm
you
trying to think
know.
of like, because like I can think of like tons of sexy goth girl representation. Like you think of the Craft and Firuza Balk and all that, but like Brandon Lee and the Crow. That's a sexy goth
Yeah.
guy. There's not a lot. You don't get a lot of like sexy goth guys outside of like, music. Trent
Yeah.
Reznor, arguably sexy goth guy, but
I honestly, I think most of us like hung around as far as the guys that we hung around with and dated. I think they were mostly musicians and skaters.
scene kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Um, but yeah, I think the whole goth freak Kevin Tan thing is just so funny to me.
Especially now
But
he's a cop. It's hilarious.
yes. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, the he wasn't goth when we fucked. Just that line was so brilliant. Um, they start dancing to Lightning Crashes, which is another brilliantly used song. Um, I'm not even that crazy about the song. But I thought it was used perfectly.
I like live. I like that they got a needle drop. They
Yeah.
got a couple good ones that would fit into this storyline, but it is good. And I think I've had a fundamental misunderstanding of this scene where I thought that Shauna freaks out on Misty because she was humming Lightning Crashes. Because
I
there's
don't
a
know what she
common
was humming.
well, so there's a common misconception that like Lightning Crashes is about an abortion or about a baby dying or a young because I think it literally is about an old woman dying at a hospital and then there's a cycle of renewal and that
Right.
energy turns into a baby, right?
Mhm.
So we were debating on podcast like, why would Sean be like, well, maybe in her mind she's thinking, mother dying, baby living, something like that. Misty's being she's rubbing it in her face or something.
Yeah.
But and I'm gonna spoil my own feedback show here. I got a piece of feedback that several people is insisting that she was humming that French song "Qui." That
Oh,
was like one of the basis is, that the inspiration of the title of which that was only heard in Shauna's dream. So I
right.
could say and it's such a wild random thing to hum, but like I'm gonna have to go back. I just saw this morning. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the episode to verify that because like with lightning crashing playing in the background, I don't know that I could pick out Quee from like, a bar of humming. But
Yeah.
if that's the case, I can see why that would freak Shauna out.
Yeah, for sure. I hadn't heard that before. That's really interesting.
Because that's one of the
Um,
things I've always said about like the Jackie situation. I'll believe like one of the things that would be incontrovertible evidence that there's something to this wilderness if someone else sees the cabin man. Because
yeah,
Jackie saw that dying. She's the only one. If anyone says it and he looks exactly like that, then that has to be some kind of shared metaphysical thing happening. And
yeah,
yeah, if Misty is singing Quee, that's boy. I want to see how they explain this next episode, or if they even do.
same. That was very yeah, I mean, that's I I couldn't make it out at all. There was just no way. Um, so yeah, I would love to I'm gonna start looking to see if, if there's any word from, like, the showrunners or the writer, director, cast on what Misty was humming. That's really fascinating. I have to like, as serious as this scene was in the cabin, I cracked up when Shauna punches Misty, and then super quickly, it just flashes to present day Misty. "Oh my god, it's snowing!"
Oh, it's such a great juxtaposition of them like jamming out to this song around the fire, cavorting like these wild, crazy free women, and then the just vicious beatdown that I mean, if I didn't know for a fact Lottie was alive in present day, I would assume this killed her.
Yeah. This was brilliant. I mean, I loved everything about this. And the violence was hard for me, like, looking at Lottie in that state.
Just
Like,
kept on going.
yeah, it was brutal. Typically, if I saw that on a movie or a TV show, I would kind of like, avert my eyes.
No,
But
it's like the angel face scene in Fight Club where Ed Norton just beats the hell out of Jared Leto. Like, oh my
yeah,
god, yeah, it's hard to believe. It's almost hard to believe someone could live through that,
yeah,
especially with all their teeth intact.
right. It was so brilliant though. Um, and I love that. I mean, Shauna is just losing her fucking mind. She bites Van. Um, but I loved what Lottie said to her. She said, "Shauna, I know there's a lot of pain right now, but let it out. We need you." I thought that was so interesting. Um, I mean, she's basically like she's willing to risk her life so that Shauna doesn't lose her mind because she's too important.
Yeah,
Like that's fascinating to me.
yeah, she's almost like she's trying to jump start this grief cycle. It's like we can't have you moping around about your baby and having all these negative feelings. We need you back in action. So replace. But that's the other thing is like it's a immature understanding of how this stuff works that like you can't just transmute grief into rage and then it's done,
Mm,
right?
right.
But it's also what's wild is this is the exact same approach she took with Lisa and Nat, where she's like, Lisa,
Yeah.
you were hurt by Nat, so hurt her back.
I
And
hadn't
Lisa
thought about
didn't
that.
take her up on the offer, but what if she had? Like, it's kind of an interesting thing of like, would it have been a replay of what we saw in this episode? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's
That's
wild that
really
that's the
interesting.
exactly same kind of therapeutic technique that she used there.
Wow, I hadn't thought about that. That's kind of fascinating. So she carried that over with her. Wow.
And
I
that
like
might,
that.
I wonder if that's like that was like one of her signs because like that was well after she saw the bloody honeycombs. Like that might have been part of the Antler Queen
Yeah.
persona. Bring she's like, oh, let's get Fight Club. Let's kick this thing up a notch. It's time to eat some people.
Damn. Well, that brings me to my superlative for the week, which is Teen Shauna most likely to start an all-girl fight club.
Single handedly, yeah.
Yes. But yeah, it was just God, it was as brutal as it was just brilliant. And like you said, the juxtaposition with them dancing around the fire in the present day and being all lovey-dovey, and it was incredible to watch.
It
Um,
also brought us full circle with the Steel Magnolias. dialogue, because that
Yeah.
scene was her saying, about a mother losing her daughter and the pain so much that I just want to hit someone and hit someone until they feel as
Yes,
bad as I do, and boom, the prophecy is complete.
exactly. Um, and fucking Todd, man, this dude, I have it out for him. First, he lets Shauna like think she's gonna have to kill this goat, and then he ruins the party. Then he has to be the buzzkill uh, by by telling Shauna that she has a call, and
I
we
wonder if he's
find
going to
out
be a
it's
bigger part going forward. Do you know this guy?
no.
Are you a fan of The Expanse?
I've never seen it.
Okay, so this guy was a pretty prominent part of, I think, seasons 4, 5, and 6. He played the polyamorous husband of one of the main characters. Carrie Gee played Kamina Drummer. So he's kind of like
Okay,
an actor that's on the on the come up. He had like that's a pretty big speaking role for. And so I'm like, it would be weird for him to be cast in a speaking role that's essentially a background bit part. So I'm
gotcha.
guessing he's going to be a little bit bigger of a part going forward. I'm curious to see where he fits in. I really liked him in The Expanse.
Cool.
Yeah, he's he's a implacable goat wrangler so far.
Yeah, he's just killing. He has it out for Shauna. He's just killing her buzz this whole episode. Um, uh, but Jeff looked like he was gonna vomit as he was delivering the news that they found Adam's remains.
I love how
Um,
carefully he's choosing his words, like just like
yeah,
I'm aware that I'm probably being listened to. So how would a husband break this news?
yeah, yeah. It's oh my god. So I wonder if she's gonna if that's gonna cause her to fly back home. I'm guessing it probably will. I don't know. I don't know. We'll we'll see what happens. I mean, I honestly, how do you think they're gonna wrap that up? Do you think that Shauna's gonna get pinned for the murder?
I called an early stake on Callie is going to use this highly unorthodox and inappropriate investigatory method that Jay employed to blow up the investigation. And I still feel that's probably I don't yeah I no I mean the Shauna on trial is not fun or interesting. I can't imagine the show going into like it's like LA law, Boston legal kind of direction.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think and I think that we've already seen a couple of ways where, because I saw some theories like, oh, she'll get found guilty and be made criminally insane and remanded in Lottie's there, and I'm like, what? No, that's not any of that stuff works. Like,
yeah,
if you're found criminally insane, they're gonna send you to the hold hands kumbaya. You're gonna go to an institution if you could be found criminally insane. So like
right?
I do think that it's going to be more of the Jay fucking this up with his buying underage girls drinks, and I think he's just creepy and weird enough that like Kevin kind of sort of medium suspects him of doing something inappropriate anyway.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Um, and plus, Callie was smart enough to make that comment about his weird ass balls.
yeah.
um,
Did you hear our take on that?
no, I didn't.
I think that's a great attack because I think the preponderance of men probably have a deep-seated fear that their balls are weird because they are.
Okay, so
You
that was
know,
even smarter than I
it's
realized.
like
Yeah,
it's like a shot. It's like it's one of those shots. Like it's saying you got a weird dick. It's like most guys kind of are like medium self-conscious about that anyway. So like you're just like it probably affects 2/3 of men, and like also he's a cop, so probably even more so. There's some kind of some inadequacies that he's kind of compensating for. Um,
gotcha.
yeah. Yeah. I think that that was a really, really good move because it's
Yeah,
Kevin, I don't think was kind of buying it, but she says that and I don't know, he's got to think some way about it.
yeah, for sure. Um, unless he has really nice balls and Kevin's seen them and knows that.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I've honestly been thinking that they're gonna find a way to, because they still have to deal with Jessica's death, and I've always felt like they're gonna figure out a way to pin one of their deaths on the other.
Hmm.
It's a good way to kill two birds with one stone. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, I don't know how that would happen, but my other theory is that they'll determine that Shauna did indeed stab Adam to death, but there will be a self-defense excuse.
Yeah, because I still think we don't know the full story on Adam. Like I remember thinking at the end of last season that like we haven't heard the last, that it's like, you know, this is a too tidy thing, that there was something that he was up to no good in connection with the Yellowjacket stuff, and there might be that for sure. Do you think that Misty's star falls a little bit? Because I can see the girls being like, you're supposed to be the expert, you told us the torso doesn't matter, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And
She's
then
been dropping the ball a lot.
she's gonna be like, well, I mean, did he have any birthmarks or tattoos? And then, you know, Sean is gonna be like, yeah, he had a giant tattoo on his back. And she's like, we fucking idiot, you didn't say that. And was, well, you didn't ask. And like, I feel like it's gonna be a lot of bitter recrum. And yeah, Misty should have known better.
Yeah, she
Like,
should have.
you're gonna say the torso doesn't matter? You never even seen the torso? Or
Right.
maybe I
Yeah, it she definitely dropped the ball on that one for sure.
yeah, it's one,
Um,
and also we know when Misty is feeling proud of herself for helping the group and she's flying high, and then when that position is threatened, she does something crazy. So if people do come after her with the like, you fucked up the torso thing, what crazy thing will she do? Yeah, we're I think it's going to be a downhill sprint till the end of the season.
yikes. Yeah, I think that I don't know that there's necessarily a more interesting backstory with Adam, but I do think he was obsessed with Shauna. Um, I think I mean, he did all of those paintings by memory in the span of like a
Oh
couple
yeah,
of weeks.
yeah.
Um, Plus, when they entered his studio, Number One Crush by Garbage was playing, which is kind of like a
Sure.
stalkery,
Hmm.
obsessive song. Um, so I think that they may find some stuff on him that shows that he was kind of obsessing over her, stalking her, and they may use that to try to get a self-defense case. I don't know. But those are my two theories that I'm going with.
Thing is, they
Um,
fucked up a lot of that evidence. They like put the paint thinner on,
that's
so
right.
that would
Yeah.
have been, yeah, like, oh my god, she tried to kill her, and then, you know, I don't know. It's
But they could
we'll
say
see.
that he destroyed the paintings because she tried to break it off with him and he was upset and angry and violent and destroyed all the paintings that he did of her and then tried to kill her, you know? So there's a
We'll
lot
have
of
to,
ways they could go with it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
who was your MVP of the episode? Your Sassy Magazine award.
Oh, old Caligula. If
Yeah.
you got a gun to my head, yeah. You can't get any more sassy than that, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What about who gets your Zubas award for the episode?
Is that the worst?
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. I'm gonna go with Shauna. Yeah, keep your eye on a goat. You got one job. Keep the baby goat. I don't care how much trauma. I don't care how much arm's length. You just don't let it run off and eat 12 feet of rope. Okay. Pretty
Yes.
sure. Pretty sure that's not good. Like 12 feet of rope and a goat intestine is not good.
Yeah, no, it can't be good. Um, before we wrap up, I just want to remind everybody that's listening or watching this. I have a fundraiser going on right now. I've needed surgery for over a year. And I have a broken stimulator in my back. I have now reached 20% of my goal. The goal is 5,000. I've now reached 20%, which is awesome. So thank you to everybody who's donated. The donation link is spot.fund/Kelly needs surgery. You can read like the whole story behind it and donate there. Just share it on your social media, whatever. But yeah, it's basically I'm in pain 24/7 and it's an easy fix. It's an extremely easy fix. I just can't afford it.
21st
So
century American life. We're living the
yes,
dream. We're living the
exactly.
dream. Have you
Exactly.
considered cooking meth?
Um,
It's more
you
lucrative than
know,
podcasting, I've heard.
Yeah. It's probably it's probably safer than podcasting at this point. Um,
Get
but
out in the
yeah, it's
desert, get some fresh air. Yeah,
yeah, I like the desert. I like the desert. I could flourish in the desert, I think.
it's dry heat.
I don't need a lot of space. I could live in an RV, you know. It's all good. Um, but yeah, everybody make sure to subscribe if you aren't already subscribed. I'm not sure where the let's check the I don't want to like we've already gone over 2 hours and I don't want to be keeping you here forever, but let's just check the subscriber count really quick and see 5. I have 5 left. I need 5 subs and then I'm
All right.
monetized.
Five. There's got to be 5 new listeners. Take the 3 seconds required to go to the Antler Queens YouTube page and slam that sub button.
Yes. You can find the audio podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow the Antler Queens on social media at the Antler Queens on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And A.Ron, you wanna remind people where they can find you?
Yeah, baldmove.com. We've got the Yellowjackets right now, Citizens Detective Bureau. We'll be having Star Trek Strange New Worlds in June, as well as found no God, what's the other one? I forgot it in the other direction now. Foundation season 2 in July. Justified City Primeval in July. Gosh, it was the other thing that wasn't Star Trek that's coming back in June, and I've completely forgotten it. Uh, anyway, we do a lot of television. We're doing Fast X. We do a lot of television movie covers at coverage at baldmove.com. And you can follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/baldmove. And yeah, I'd love to have anybody with us along the journey.
Yes, please go look them up. You'll thank you can thank me later for it. Um, A.Ron, thank you so much for joining me. This is like I said, it's kind of a milestone for me, so I'm pretty excited.
Well,
Um,
thanks for having me on, Kelly. It's been a lot of fun.
yeah, absolutely. Stick around for a second. Everybody else, I will catch you on Sunday immediately following the next episode. It chooses on YouTube. And peace, love, and Yellowjackets, everybody. We're out.